FHFA came out, and I want to hear your thoughts on this because I have my own. But for folks that are wanting to purchase a second home, your cost for entry into this market just got punched in the mouth, and it's ridiculous. Hello there, Mr. Brian Stevens. I'm Shawn Kerley. We are live on LabCoatAgents, and I was just thinking, we've been doing this for a pretty long time, and this is that time of year where people get a little depressed because you're grinding, you're busting your butt for the entire year, and then you wipe it all away and you get to start off at zero again. I don't know, we're glutton for punishment, but I'm playing a little bit of therapist with some of my loan officers on, let's just get back at it and get going. I don't know. Do you feel the same way at times?
Oh, every day of the week. I mean, that's what we choose to do when we're self-employed people is we don't have to reinvent ourselves every year. We have to reinvent ourselves every transaction. And, you're only as good as the last transaction that you've had. I mean, we hear the whole idea of like insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different outcome. But imagine solving a problem, moving on to a new client, and then dealing with that same problem again that you also have to solve. In theory, what we do as mortgage loan officers and real estate agents is we deal with insanity because the same problems continue to recur over and over again. And then we also have to reinvent ourselves on a monthly basis. And then on top of that, we have to act excited every month about what we're doing, even though sometimes we just want to pull our hair out. Yeah. So yeah, of course I do. And you know what, but that's why we do it. And that's what really kind of distinguishes, the top producing real estate agents and loan officers, like from the low producing ones. It's the people who've got the propensity to deal with this like type of punishment on a monthly, weekly basis. I really believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. But what else would you want to do, for
Nothing.
a living?
Nothing.
I love it. Well, let's get into some big changes. FHFA came out, and I want to hear your thoughts on this because I have my own. But for folks that are wanting to purchase a second home, your cost for entry into this market just got punched in the mouth, and it's ridiculous to the tune of, normally what happens is I live in Missouri. I hate the winters here. I want to buy a house in Florida, or, even during the summers, I want to buy a house at the Lake of the Ozarks, one of our popular destinations here.
I've been there.
It's badass.
I
love
have
it.
been there. It is wonderful. It is
Yes.
one of the coolest places I've ever been in my life. It was just last year.
Well, very nice. Well, we'll have you back out. But normally people would just put 10% down. They get a smoking rate, just like a primary residence interest rate. But now they came out with anything, it's from 80.01%. So if you put like 90% or less down, you are getting smoked by 4.125% in fees. Yep. So on an HPML loan, a normal conventional loan, we can't charge that amount. So basically, if I'm going to use very round numbers that are not applicable today, but say your interest rate's at 3%, this hit goes in, your interest rate goes up over to 4.5 or something like that, just to buy a second home, just because. My thought, and I could be completely way off left base, but I think that Fannie Freddie, FHFA is scared with the amount of people that are buying second homes, turning into Verbos or Airbnbs, and they just don't want that amount on their books due to performance if things go belly up because people don't know how to run a short-term rental. That's one angle. But what are your thoughts on this? Because I mean, it sucks for us. I mean, I don't like it that it costs more money. Everything always costs more money to lend a damn dollar in this business, but this is ridiculous, in my opinion.
I mean, honestly, man, I'm at a loss. I'm really, really at a loss as to why they did this. I mean, if I'm going to speculate with some conjecture, I would say, well, because we have just seen this past month was the lowest amount of inventory we've had in the history of tracking real estate. So there's just we just don't have the houses out there right now. So maybe they want to have these as primary residence. Maybe they simply just don't have an appetite for the secondary housing market right now. It really kind of boggles the mind why they made it so much more expensive. And the only thing it's going to do is ensure that nobody's using Fannie and Freddie deals when they're looking at second homes or investment properties. This is just going to push everybody over to the non-QM market, which is going to have, the non-agency deals over there in the non-QM market is going to be much more competitive than what we're seeing with, Fannie and Freddie right now. It honestly, it made no sense. when I saw that story a couple of days ago, I'm like, I've got to be reading something wrong. It was so if you're a realtor or lender and you have like a loan level pricing adjustment, and you see like an 1/8, 1/4 to 3/8%, you're like, wow, that was kind of big. I mean, this thing overshot the mark so much, it was unbelievable. And I really don't get it. And it's interesting how there's a very little conversation about what's taking place here, because this was a massive tectonic shift in terms of what the policies for the FHFA, Fannie and Freddie are. We do have a new director of Fannie. We have a new director of the FHFA. And this is probably an extension of their policies. But it was, yeah, dude, I'm right there with you on this one. I'm like, really? Three points? That's 300 basis points. It's crazy.
Well, in the I remember with the past administration, whenever they were trying to take Fannie and Freddie out of conservatorship, there were hits like this, and they got repealed.
Yeah.
But then a very short time later, let's smack them right between the eyes with a sledgehammer on this. And I know it's just one, just a couple products. So you got high balance. Rate and term purchase got smoked by a full point, and then cash outs 1.75 hit. But the second home, I mean, people, they're trying to build generational wealth, right, through their primary residence. And oh, hey, we're actually doing pretty decent now. We can buy that condo by the beach, or we can buy, I don't know, there's all kinds of different scenarios, but just basically say, hey, you can't now because we don't like it, or you're going to have to find somewhere else to go that are not going to have they're not going to have favorable terms like a normal Fannie Mae, a loan of yesterday. And this is for all loans that are delivered April 1st to Fannie Freddie. The fun part is that the servicers don't know whenever those loans will be delivered to those agencies. So they're turning it on right now.
Yeah, if you were right now today.
Yeah, if I was looking for a house, say in Florida, my buying power just got smoked compared to where it was at just 10 days ago or a week ago.
Well, you remember about a year ago, we spoke about this on the National Real Estate Post at almost ad nauseum, but it seemed like Fannie and Freddie wanted to get out of the lending business.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we saw those massive jumps in prices, and we said, Fannie and Freddie not writing loans is kind of like Ford not building cars. Like, what do you do if you're not writing loans? And of course, that was all dealt with and reconciled. But when we look at what's going on right now, this is the biggest shift I've ever seen. And I mean, I've been looking at this for 25 years. This is the biggest shift I've ever seen in terms of the cost for a product. And if Fannie and Freddie are not writing loans, what are they doing? Like, this is their objective, is to make affordable housing available to everybody. And and how do we build generational wealth? I mean, if we want to kind of go down the rabbit hole on this whole thing, is the idea right now, when we look at generational wealth and the disparity between the different ethnicities across our country right now, the inability for minority and underserved communities to go ahead and build generational wealth has been something that's striking and at the absolute core of the mission statement of Fannie, Freddie, and Ginnie. And when we do something like this and we make it unapproachable for anybody to go ahead and affordably, buy an investment property, it cuts across all borders, and it will disproportionately hurt those who need the biggest opportunities to go ahead and build what we just call as generational wealth.
Yeah. We're salespeople. We don't like anything that slows us down and slows the folks down to actually purchase a dream, really. Well, another thing that's been, I mean, I'm just full of great news today. Interest rates are on the rise. The cooker is on. MBS high, or the mortgage-backed securities bond market had one of its worst weeks on record. And it reminds me, and I'm going to go back to whenever Trump won the presidency, we were at levels where rates were great. And as soon as he announced that he won, the bottom fell off, like just right off the table. And because everyone, oh, hip, hip, hooray, we're all going to be rich, whatever. And all this money vacated the securities market, and interest rates went up real quick. I'm going to share a screen just so we can articulate, because I can talk about it all the time. But if I show where we're at currently, this is where we're at today. This is whenever the pandemic got real back in March of 2020. Remember whenever the NBA canceled their season, right?
Yep.
So if we look at where we're at today, we are pre-CARES Act, pre-pandemic. We're in February of 2020 area, where There's one case in Washington or something like that. Nothing was really crazy. So well, the reason why I bring this up is all these folks that are pre-approved, getting used to, or they got pre-approved a couple months ago and just haven't found that house. Now they're going to re-up that pre-approval. They're going to find out in a very, very bad way that their affordability just, is basically getting exhausted.
Well, yeah, it is. And I just saw, I think I read an article just earlier this morning. It said that the Fed is probably going to be raising the short-term rate 4 times this year. And that creates its own, interesting kind of conundrum in and of itself with affordability. With every half point in interest rate that goes up, we lose 5 to 10% of our purchasing capability.
Yes.
So imagine if we, rates go up by another point to a point and a half to 2 points. That means your average consumer can buy 10 to 20% less in housing. And if we can afford to buy less, then it's going to affect the price of housing. And we can expect to see a haircut in terms of like the value on all housing. And when we think of the trillions of dollars in equity that we've generated over the past couple of years right now, this could be a massive, again, a tectonic shift in terms of, what we collectively have in our savings account with the houses that we have. So it has to happen though. It really honestly does have to happen. The other interesting part to this is the servicing portfolios. So servicing portfolios, there's trillions, what $11 trillion in servicing portfolios. We with rates going up, that means nobody's going to refinance. So that means the value of the servicing portfolio is going to go up. So that means lenders are going to be moving away from like actually writing loans and more concerned about servicing loans. If we see rates drop, that servicing portfolio is going to have a whole bunch less value that's associated with it. And there are major lenders across the country right now who are hedging and banking on their servicing portfolio. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on. But right now, all the indications are that rates are going to probably go up, as the MBA said last year, by, a half to a point and a half this next year. And it will be interesting to see what that's going to do to the equity and the wealth of your average, Jane and Joe homeowner across the country.
Yeah. And, not only with the securities selling off, then you still have inflation that's still rolling, and they're expecting that through February that we're still going to see inflation going up. I wonder what it's going to do, or how many times we're going to hear now that, I got such a great rate on my current house, I really don't want to move and, have a point and a half higher or whatever that might be in someone's certain scenario. Because I know where I'm sitting, I'd love to have a nice, newer, prettier, shinier house, but sure. I really like where I'm sitting at, with the structure of my debt. So it's like, we'll stay here. We'll just do a couple things around the house and tidy up.
Well, in 1985, mortgage interest rates were in 18 to 22%. And people were still buying and refinancing when rates were 18 to 20%. It's always going to be the case. People are always going to be looking to move up, to move down, to do their rate and terms, to do their cash outs, to debt consolidation, on my whole thing is like, as long as Kawasaki exists, and Sea-Doos exist and toy haulers exist, there's going to be a market for people who write loans and sell properties. And it's because we are truly and I'm not making a knock on this at all, but we are truly a nation of consumers, and we're always looking at trying to find the most affordable way to go ahead and, participate with that conspicuous consumption that we all love so much. And it maybe it's a bigger house, maybe it's granite countertops, maybe it's a brand new motorcycle, who knows?
Brand new motorcycle, yes. There was one thing that we talked about last year, is later in the year, is that company, and it's slipping my mind, but in China, that had, I forget how many trillions of loans that were going to default. And the thought process for you is that there might be investment from that company pouring into securities. Have you heard anything of what's going on across over there with this company?
Yes, it is. I was just looking at Joanna over here. It's Evergrande. I know the company. It's
Evergrande. There you go.
And they are the largest real estate developer in the world. They literally are in the process of building Manhattan across the world. I'm going to screw my numbers up here pretty bad, but they've got billions and billions of dollars in unpayable debt right now, and what they're trying to do is offload their unbuilt properties in order to pay their debts. And so yes, that has had a massive impact. What I was looking at, and I'm still kind of looking towards, is when we lose faith in a market, and the Chinese market is the second or third largest in the world. If we lose faith in that, then we're going to look at, people who invest money are going to be looking at placing their money in markets that are going to be a little bit more secure. And it's basically Germany, the United States, and Sweden. And we have seen some of that, but not to the extent that I thought we would. But this story is long from being written. It's still happening right before our eyes. If you want to do something fun, if you're watching this right now, look up Evergrande and look at what this company has done. It is quite remarkable with the absolute and total inefficiency and in terms of how they're run. But yeah, this story is still going on.
And I hate to laugh at that because there's a lot of, you throw the big rock in the water and there's some big waves. So, hopefully things get figured out. But yeah, I was reading let me look here, Jim Bianco of Bianco Core Research, and he's basically saying on all the bondholders with this steep sell-off, nobody wants to get stuck holding the bag. So a lot of offloading, and Big Brother Treasury's not buying at the rate that they are, and they're tapering, and they're going to shut off at some point. Well, we're open market, and this is not a sustainable, healthy market with rates in the 2s and the 3s. And I know, I always want to hold, again, I'm a sales guy. I'm holding out hope like an idiot that, hey, maybe rates will get a little bit better than where they're at right now, because the conversations suck whenever you're telling somebody that the rate just went up, over the past 10 days, and it's a shock to them. And you have to go through that entire education process. But everybody should know this is what's happening. There's pressure, rates are going up. With that, and you hit on it before, inventory is at its low time ever on record. What, 2 months? So if we didn't list another house within 2 months, we'd sell every damn house in the United States.
We have 48% less inventory as we had this time last year, and last year was the worst year ever. I mean, the numbers are pretty incredible. But here's the whole thing. Listen, I know it's freezing cold where you're at right now. It's raining out here in California. We love this.
Hey,
but I think what I really think is taking place is that people have, after 2 years of sitting in your house and quarantining, and by the way, I think everybody over here is COVIDing right now. But I think I think that people really were kind of looking at like just reattaching to their family this last year. So I think we had a disproportionately slow holiday season when it comes to real estate. But that's going to change. Like the markets are going to change. Things are going to get better. We will see more inventory going forward. And, as we talk about a lot of these like investment properties and second homes, this has kind of been one of my talking points. There's a massive desire amongst those. 50% of all investment homes are owned by a person who only owns that other house outside of their primary residence. And with all the payments that have not been made, like the desire to own these investment properties has slowed down. And I think what we're going to see is great opportunity for agents who really want to list properties going forward. I think that we're going to see one of the better springs that we've ever had, in spite of the fact that, hey, listen, it's cold winter, but maybe it was a good thing. We'll have a good spring.
Well, again, we get spoiled, with interest rates and everything, business, coming in, things of that nature. I was looking back because I'm a big application guy, looking at apps to forecast what we're going to do, things of that nature. And I was talking with my partners. I'm like, oh, we're down 150 applications this month. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And then I went back to 2019. I'm like, oh, we're going back to normal cycle in the Midwest. It's freezing. It's 20 something degrees outside. Nobody wants to move their crap in the cold. Right. We may just have to eat ramen for a couple months, and then we'll see what happens in March, April, May, June, and then gangbusters from then, right? But with that, it sounds like you're still bullish on housing market, especially purchase, because we know refinances are going to go away except for cash outs. The appreciation levels on homes, do they taper? Do they slow down? Because it was nuts with appreciation levels of what people were gaining on paper if they bought 12 months ago compared to today, or even to go back a little bit further. Do you still think we're going to see that run rate, or does it run out of steam and still go up a little bit, but nothing like somebody gaining 100 grand on their house if they bought in California or Florida?
You know, when you look at the U.S. housing market, if you were to have bought it at the height in 2007 and held onto that house, you've still made money.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's just a win-win scenario. It's the only investment that you actually participate with, that you live in. I mean, it's always a good time if you can go ahead and get into real estate. It is. Yes. Is it going to slow down? You bet it is. Could it possibly go upside down, ass over tea kettle? Maybe a little bit. But if your idea is to hold on to real estate as you're going forward and see it as an investment, you're just not going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about where we're at right now. We have all these really remarkable superlatives, don't we? You know, with the highest, the biggest, the most, the least, like all these massive numbers right now. And there's nothing on the forecast that is going to indicate that anything is going to be shifting in the near future. I think of, like, what is your civil servant who lives in a community? Can they afford to own a house? And I've seen affordability just go down the tubes in every city across the country. This is one of the things that I've just done whenever I travel and I go and I speak at places. I always look at affordability based on the median income of a civil servant's income. And we've seen these numbers get skewed over the past decade. But when we look at the number of houses that we have on the market, when we look at our new housing starts that we have right now, when we look at the National Association of Home Builders and what they are and what they aren't building, there's just nothing in the forecast that suggests that property values are going to be going down. I think there's kind of a problem with that, because I do think that we need to, kind of kicking a dead horse here. I think we need to help underserved communities right now, and property values. I think I just did a show on this a couple of days ago. I think the average income for somebody in the United States right now is like $37,000. The average income for somebody who's self-employed is like $61,000. The average price for a house is $375,000. And what that tells me is the average person can't buy the average house in this country right now. You're not even close to it. So we have to find a way to reconcile these numbers. I don't know how it's going to happen. But, again, we're salespeople. We're the consummate optimists out there, and we're going to pray for low rates and pray for great markets.
Yeah. And the show that he's speaking of is the National Real Estate Post. So if you guys are still with us, after we hang up here, go to your app store or wherever you get apps and type in NREP, and you'll get these beautiful nuggets every day from Brian or Frank, or a guest host every now and then. And again, I've been watching you for, I think, 10 plus years, and I love it. And I make all my people watch it as well, because you do share just some amazing stats, and it's a way to get plugged into what's really happening, looking past your own nose, kind of, instead of what's in my voicemail or what's in my email. You get to see exactly, some different perspectives of what's going on in this crazy ass market. So I do appreciate your efforts, sir. Keep it up.
Thank you so much.
And with that, I'm out of talking points. You got anything else you want to wrap?
Go 49ers. Yes.
I heard that the crowd was too loud for the LA Rams, which me being from St. Louis, I love to hear anything negative that's going on with Crockies, anything. So yeah, that the 49ers fans were just too loud for Sam Bradford yesterday. He couldn't get the play calls in his own damn stadium.
A 6-game winning streak against the Rams. Let's go Niners, man. I'm ready for the playoffs.
All right, boss. Well, I will see you next month. And until then, stay safe and a happy new year.
Likewise, you too, man. You take care of your own right now. Watch out. It's
yes, sir.
It's in the air.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk to you.
All right, bye.